Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of En Esta Esquina. I've seen in interviews before that Kayla has said in one interview that saying that you have no skill, but then in another interview she said that you're Godzilla. Well, that she's prepping for Godzilla. Do you think that she might have taken you a little too lightly?
Well, she's just always been very upset for any of the amount of success that I've had. When I fought Amanda Nunes, she was in the front row cursing and screaming, and she was very upset because she didn't think that I was going to win. I don't blame her. I've always been the underdog, and everybody always thinks that I'm going to lose. And so that's just kind of the nature of the biz. Even back to the Ultimate Fighter, nobody believed in me. No one thought that I was going to win, and I was able to prove everybody wrong and silence everyone. And so in that instant, when I won against Amanda Nunes the first time, Kayla was very upset and she didn't think that I was worthy or that I had any skills. And she has said it herself, I don't have any skills. I'm just the turtle that got to the top of the pole by magic. I don't know how, no one knows how the turtle got up there. And that's how she treats me. Like I just magically appeared at the top of the pole. But I've been clawing and scratching and kicking my way to the top since I got into this sport. And, I've never been content with being at the bottom of the barrel. I want more for myself, and I have high standards for myself. And knowing that, I think that she now realizes that I'm a bit more of a threat than she thinks that I am. And everybody always thinks that I'm just this easy layup until they get locked in there and I'm actually standing right in front of them and they actually have to face me. And I think that that is a little bit of a shock to all of my opponents once they get inside there with me.
In a lot of interviews, I've heard you say before that you have clawed and scratched your way to the top. And every time I hear you say that, it reminds me more that you are who you say you are. You're not afraid to stand there in the middle of that octagon and just fight it out.
Yeah, wherever the fight takes place, whether it takes place in the center of the octagon and we're swinging for the fences like we're in a bar brawl, whether we're, trapped up against that fence and we're in the clinch on the fence, whether it's on the ground and wrestling and doing these scrambles in jujitsu and it doesn't matter. It's called mixed martial arts, MMA. It's mixed for a reason, and you have to be confident that no matter where the fight takes place, that you're going to prevail and that you're going to get the victory. And for me, I train everywhere and I train so hard. And that's why I have these 3, sometimes 4 sessions a day, because I need to be prepared everywhere, whether it's boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, jujitsu, judo. You have to be ready for it all.
Julianna, what would you recommend or what would you advice would you give out to those young ladies? I have a 7-year-old daughter, I mean, she's still young, obviously, but you said one time she's been looking at that. She's seen it and she plays around. I mean, what advice would you give to the younger ladies, the younger generation that they're looking towards you and might be getting inspired by you?
I would just say that make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure that you're training because you love to train and because you're determined to be able to make yourself and make your life healthier. Don't do it for reasons like your parents are pushing you or your parents want you to become a fighter or your parents think that you can make all these millions of dollars. I sometimes see these parents pushing their kids at such a young age, and then by the time that they're 18, 19 years old, their body's already broken, and because they spent all that time trying to develop at such a young age, that by the time they get to their 18, 19, 20s, their body can't handle the amount of pressure or the amount of damage that it takes in order to remain in this sport. This is a violent contact sport, and sometimes it's better to take your time and let your body develop. That way, when you're 18, 19 years old, you can go make a run afterwards. And I'm not saying not to take martial arts serious at a young age. I'm just saying make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons and don't feel so pushed to be at the best at 7 years old or 8 years old. Have fun. This is the time to learn the rough and tumble, learning how to fall, learning how to do basic moves. I think that sometimes these girls, they get so much pressure of needing to make their families proud, or so much pressure to try to be the best, and it can get mentally taxing on a young girl. So just take your time, have fun, and take care of your body. Most of all, take care of your body.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is difficult, being a woman, you guys got to work
Yeah.
twice as hard.
Well, I mean, imagine if you were bleeding for 3 straight days. Like, if you were bleeding for 3 straight days, you would probably like start like screaming and crying and being like, somebody take me to the hospital, I'm dying, But like women, we bleed for like 7 to 9 days, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, depending on the flow. And then we still have to go get on the mat and train every day and, be getting on the mat with everybody up in your craw and stuff. And so it's not easy being a woman when you feel like your stomach's about to explode and you're cranky and you're moody and you're crying and you still have to go in there and do it. Like, men have no idea the things that women have to endure as a martial artist.
How important is this fight for your legacy in the sport of MMA?
I kind of like that word legacy, and then on the other hand, I don't really like that word legacy, because at the end of the day, like, nobody really cares. It's not one of these things where it's like I'm living or dying by this sport and this is so important. What's most important to me is being a good person, being a good mother, being a good role model for my daughter, because this life is fleeting, this life is fast, and like a grain of sand in the Sahara Desert, it's gonna go and it's gonna come and it's gonna go like that, and then we're gonna die. And the only thing that matters is am I right with God? And that's all I really care about at the end of the day, is just making sure that I'm a good person and doing the right things, so that way when I die, maybe someone will be like, yeah, she was a great person, but at the end of the day, like, oh, the legacy, her record, what she had, how many belts she has, they're just things, they're just cherries on top, but they don't really mean that much to me. My relationship with God is more important, and being a good person is more important to me.
It must be a lot. I'm sorry. It just seems like, to me, I can't really comprehend it, because obviously I'm a male, but it just seems like the mental fortitude that you have is completely different to any other random person out there.
Thank you. Yeah. When you have been doing this as long as I have, and I've been doing it since 2008, you get the confidence that you could walk through a brick wall or run through, a hotbed of coals, because you have been through it all. You've been tortured, you've been beaten, you've been, battle tested, and being battle tested like I have kind of gives you the confidence to be able to walk into a room and talk to anybody and give those speeches in front of gigantic rooms, or, give somebody some just regular life advice. This sport has absolutely molded my life and changed my life in ways that I couldn't even imagine, from being able to travel all over the world to be able to step into rooms and talk to these people and give these types of speeches. This is just what I do, and it has been an absolute blessing for me to be able to, use whatever platform that I have to voice, my journey.
Looking at it now, where you're at right now in life, did you ever see yourself, like when you first started practicing MMA, did you ever see yourself where you're at right now? I mean, or was it just, or is it a complete shock?
Absolute shock. Never. No, never. First off, there was no end in sight for us. I fought a girl who sang the national anthem, and as soon as she got done singing the national anthem, I had to fight her. Walked into the venue like, you mean that girl singing right there is my opponent? And they're like, yep. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to have to beat up the girl singing the national anthem. And that was in a barn. And so, like, I think, going back to where I started, and then when you win the fight, they give you like a triple XL t-shirt that you can like swim in.
Do you still have
and
that?
you sold the
Do you still have that?
no, but you sold the whole place out, you know what I mean? And all your friends and family and everybody came and they're like, here's your t-shirt, and you're like, oh, you got a big old swollen eye, and they're like, oh, congratulations, you won this t-shirt. Back then there was no UFC for women. There was no idea of us being able to make any sort of career for ourselves in martial arts. Absolutely not. I mean, this was back in 2008. So I think that for me, looking back to where I am right now, to where I used to be, no, I never thought that I would be able to experience this type of life for myself. It's amazing. I thank God for it every day.
Obviously, I mean, no one needs introduction, because you are who you are. Again, you are the reigning champion bantamweight at UFC. But where would you rank your 3 top fights your personal 3 top fights.
My rematch against Sarah Morass is one of those because she broke my arm in front of my entire hometown. And then on The Ultimate Fighter, I got to rematch her. And, you know, she broke my arm. I didn't tap out. The doctor stopped it. They had to pull me out of that octagon by the scruff of my neck. I wasn't leaving. And I was demanding that they put my arm back in to finish round 3. And they're like, the fight is over. And so when I was able to tap her, that was just sweeter for me because it was bigger stakes. It was on national television. It meant that I was going to be able to move forward for the finale of The Ultimate Fighter. And so I was still in the competition. I was still in the running. And then it also was awesome because I was able to make her tap the mat and she didn't make me tap the mat when she broke my arm. And so I was able to submit her, and that was a very sweet victory for me. Fighting, I believe, Milana Dudieva was a big feat for me because I had torn 4 out of 5 ligaments in my knee, and I had already torn my other knee. So this was my first fight coming back after having double knee surgeries, and I took out Milana in the first round in my first fight back from the UFC after winning The Ultimate Fighter. And so that just proved to me that I am still able to compete at the highest level and win at the highest level, even though I had double knee surgery. And, you know, of course, the Amanda fight was a big victory for me, but even a bigger victory for me is probably coming back from pregnancy and beating Nico Montano, who also won The Ultimate Fighter seasons after me. I didn't know, again, you know, I had an emergency C-section. They ripped me open. They took out my baby. They stuffed my guts back in. They sewed me back up, and they had said, "Have a nice day." And so to be able to, again, have a baby, you know, give birth and be able to come back and compete at the highest level and win at the highest level was just another test to me that I am who I say I am, that I'm the baddest effing mother, and that, you know, you can have these injuries, you can have these babies, you can still get your hand raised and compete at the highest level and win. And so those fights were very important for me.
Like, with all that being said, that it's still amazing to think about that. You got your arm broken, but you still wanted to go back and fight. You had double knee surgery, and you still won that fight. And then even after the C-section, you still won that fight. When you're in that, does all of that just go away?
It does. You kind of have to like wash your brain out and just like think about the very first thing that's in front of you, and the only thing that I'm thinking about is solve the puzzle that is immediately in front of you. And so I'm not thinking, oh no, I had a baby, or oh no, my knees, or oh no. I'm not thinking anything other than this person that's standing right in front of you is going to kill you if you don't fight back, you know? And so you have to kill them before they kill you. It's kill or be killed. And for me, I'm not thinking about any of that stuff. If I was thinking about that stuff, then you've already lost, you know? So I just try to focus on the puzzle that I have and solving the riddle that's right in front of me, and that's making sure that I'm 100% zeroed in, you know, tunnel vision on the problem in front of me.
How do you plan to celebrate?
I'm gonna have a cheeseburger, I'm gonna have a Coke, and I'm going to be very happy, obviously, but I'll probably just want to sleep and eat, and then I'm going on vacation.
Fajador.